I've cleaned the this Phillips wobbulator up and replaced the knobs that were damaged, burnt, and sort of give it a good scrub up inside, clean the glass out inside or the perspex out inside. It's a typical build for a Phillips unit. Anyone who knows Phillips know they've got this unique build sort of quality about them. You can basically look inside a Phillips radio, cassette player, any of their test equipment, and you'll know straight away it's a Phillips without even looking at the label. It's working quite well actually. Just give you a quick demonstration. This is these are the basic sweeps, or this is just an RF generator. You see on the scope here, the waveform's a little bit distorted, possibly because I'm not using a 50 ohm terminator, but as you can see, and the scale calibration is reasonably good. So that's 100 kilohertz, 300 kilohertz, 300 kilohertz to a meg, and then it goes all the way up to 110 megahertz. And you can see here that you've also got a this is basically saying that it's got swept function as well. And if you were a bit out of the range of this scope really, of this sort of frequency, but it will allow you to sweep the frequency with this sweep control here. I'm trying to show you a lower frequency so it's easy to see on the scope. You can see that, and if you press wob, this is basically sweep generator, the British call it a wobbulator. You can see the sweep amount of modulation on the FM. See the sweep there. So it will only work on FM. It's got an FM and AM internal modulation. AM works on all the ranges. FM will only work on the 10.7 meg range. It's not very clear on here, and I'm not entirely sure if it's working. You need to check that, but yes, it does look like it's working. It's a fairly low modulation. You probably can't see that with the camera, but there is a slight shift in modulation. So FM modulation, AM modulation is very strong. You can see that there. But as I say, FM modulation only works on the 10.3 to 11 megahertz band for the IF, and 75 to 110 megahertz for the actual RF frequency. And then you just basically feed it into your X and Y like you do with a normal sweep generator to get the S curve, the response curve on the scope. It's also got a nice function here because the scale isn't particularly reliable. It's got a crystal calibrator, and if you press cal mode, when you run through the frequencies at every I think it's 1 megahertz, you got a point where the frequency will beat, and what you do is you turn the dial up. You see them. Let's turn it onto a lower resolution scale so it's less sensitive to adjust. So what you're looking for every megahertz. Let's do 10.7 actually, because that will be the one that we use. So here's our 10.7 megahertz. That's showing the scale selected, 10.7. Swell increase. You see the meter's peaked here, and then you want to go past that point where it nulls. So you've just gone past it. It's a double hump. So you're basically looking at the hump. You're looking at the peak, the trough, and the peak again, and you're trying to peak in the trough, or go to the trough, should I say. So you get the meter as low as possible. Now in theory, if I plug this into the Raycall, it should be pretty nigh on, close on 10.7 megs. There you go. Look at that. So that's a really nice feature. I mean, for its day, you know, where the high accuracy counters were very, very expensive to buy, a crystal calibrator like that was perfect. And you can see how stable the waveform is. It's really very good actually. But it has got that sort of build quality of a slightly sort of Heathkit-y sort of stuff. Nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. The electronics are good, which they appear to be. I've got no problem with this at all. And it's and it should be it's probably more usable than the Advance as a sweep generator, and possibly even really more than the Hewlett Packard. But yeah, nice bit of kit. Cost me hardly anything, to be honest with you. And as you can see, that the scale calibration is pretty good. As I did notice, actually, that just to have it show you. So on this range now, so that's so that should be 400 kilohertz, slightly overreading, 500. And there is a scale calibration, but that obviously it only calibrates it for one scale. What you do is you hold this outer ring and you bring this into adjustment. So there's 500. So basically what that's doing is there's a slip clutch in here that allows it to move independently to the tuning resistor. It's a varicap system. That's 6 megs, 7. It's not bad. You know, it's good enough. What with the crystal calibrator makes all the difference. Trying to find a service manual for this is actually almost impossible. There's a lot of sites that say they've got the service manual. We'll actually download it. All it is the user manual. And it'd be nice to get the scale calibration a little bit better than this. So I'll have to investigate that. But yeah, and worth looking out for. I mean, they sort of go for £60–70. I didn't pay that for this one, as I say, because it was in a bit of a beat up state. Didn't know if it was working or not. But a great addition to an FM alignment set. And of course it will do the 455 and IF strips for AM as well. So thanks for watching, and more to come.